What's your question, sir?
Islam. What things can Moors expect when they come into this venue? What good new things do they expect from getting out of their old houses that they were in before?
Well, folks don't necessarily have to leave the houses that they're in to amalgamate to this venue. That's a choice that's up to them. I don't. There's no requirement for someone to leave. For example, we have a few folks in this venue now. Some of them maintain their membership and their participation in the temple, and I'm fine with that. There are parties who are in this venue who are from the Nation of Islam, and they report to their various meetings and service as normal. And when they're not doing that, we have scheduled their training regimen around what they do with the Nation of Islam. They report, as a matter of fact, those parties, they report to New Atlantis for training once a month. And they do so in a manner that's not conflicting with what they have in terms of their obligations to the Nation of Islam. We don't have a problem with that. Their training classes are around that schedule. They deal with the briefings around that schedule. So it's not a problem for that perspective of your question.
So a prerequisite would not have to be giving up your old paradigm that you was in just to join to the venue.
That has nothing to do with the Amexem-Moor-Empire. As long as when you are scheduled to be on duty for your 32 hours a month of volunteer time, which we can schedule around that, as long as you report to your training class on time, or you get fined for that, now it's a silver, I might add. As long as you're at your training class, which we can schedule around that other schedule, that's fine as far as we're concerned. And as long as you can make one briefing a month, which is the second briefing of the month. Unless you are a sub-department head or local operations manager or regional or whatever you are. In other words, if you are an official, you would be expected to be on station for a briefing. But we find ways to work that out. If you cannot physically be at the briefing on time, but you can eventually make the briefing, because we're there all day, you know how that works. That's fine too, provided that your reports are on station. But we're in the information age. How hard is it really to get your reports set? Honestly. So, in other words, if there is desire and a will, there most certainly is a way. We don't have a problem with folks doing their private capacity. It's none of our business. As long as when they're supposed to be on duty, they're on duty. They didn't breach the Amexem-Moor-Empire Constitution. I have nothing to say about what they do in their private life. I'm here to protect what they do in their private life, as long as they don't impose their will on someone, as long as they don't effectively operate outside the 5 basic principles. If they've done no any harm, I'm not getting in that. Well, anyway, in terms of what folks can expect in this jurisdiction, I'm a little biased, so I have to be careful with my answer here. But I would say order, discipline, duty, obligation, and responsibility unto food, clothing, and shelter on our own terms. A system of health care, a system of learning, independent power generation. In other words, your own society that is free from external control.
So there is no master and slave component. We are working on our own capacity.
I am a constitutional monarch, and I don't have any subjects. I am not a monarch. I don't have absolute power. And I don't train servants. I don't train followers. I train the Amexem-Empire nationals to be leaders on their own right, to stand alone, so that our collective sovereignty works. When your collective sovereignty works, your individual or your private sovereignty can shine. You can know how to do things as a sovereign all day long, but if it's just you, you have to close your eyes and rest sooner or later. And when you close your eyes and rest, someone has the opportunity to knock you in your head.
Well, then that's not sovereignty at all.
As I said, when the collective sovereignty works, the individual or the private sovereignty shines. Which basically means you must be around folks who think, act, and speak as you do. Because you know these folks, they know you. They know how to proceed. You've got the same training. And when you have the same training, and the training is in fact effective, well, let's just say it makes your international discourse abilities that much more formidable. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the question: would you rather go into international discourse surrounded by 50 folks who have no clue, or would you rather go with two folks that basically can engage in international discourse in a manner that is not merely just respectable and reputable, but on point?
I'd rather go with the folks that are on the same page.
I'm just saying. That said, honestly, when folks take a look at the Amexem-Moor-Empire fairly, when you look at this objectively, without injecting emotion into the situation, when you just deal with logic and reason, no prepositions, no suppositions. When they look at us in that manner, they can look at our track record and know, not think or suspect, but know that what we make available is viable, can provide their family with collective sovereignty that works, that their private sovereignty can shine. And really and truly, I think that's what folks can come to expect, because our track record, and I think it's fair to say we can stand on the merits of our track record. That's why our track record makes available for folks to see.
So it's like the Amexem-Moor-Empire kind of mirrors Gene Roddenberry's version of the board, a whole collective that thinks on one note, but instead of them all with the same thought, they had their own independent thoughts at the same time.
The board, you say?
Just as a somewhat of an example.
I recognize the point that you're making, but the Borg, you say? Interesting. I'll leave it at that.